one with Villanova today before a big road trip to California next weekend.
Well, you mentioned that the offense has been clicking on all cylinders, 18 team home runs so far this season.
And it's not just coming from one or two players, but there are legitimate threats, 2 through 5 in the batting order, on pace for big home run numbers. They're second in the SEC in home runs per game.
To the visitors' dugout we go. You have to highlight Paige Roush. Roush, a transfer for Villanova, and she can do it hitting, she can do it pitching. She was one of Fordham's best players last season.
Yeah, she followed Bridget Orchard from Fordham to Philly to play for Villanova. She picked up a win in the Circle, 4 one-run innings and a 13-4 victory over Eastern Illinois. Also scored a couple of runs in that win over EIU. She is a true dual threat.
For the Tigers, they are led by second-year head coach Mickey Dean, and you start to see the implementation of his philosophy this year, Brad. Last year was a transition year. How Auburn is running the bases, for example, this year, you can tell his effectiveness is going into play. 10
players have stolen a base, 11 players have attempted steals. That's just one of the changes in philosophy, though. He's very much a hands-off coach when it comes to tinkering with his players. He wants them to be free to play to their own strengths, and also implemented in the offseason a little more of a get-to-know-you program for his players.
And for Villanova, they are led by first-year head coach in Bridget Orchard. Coach Orchard is a Villanova grad. She comes to Villanova after 17 seasons at Fordham, 7 times the Atlantic 10 Coach of the Year. Brad, they are getting a good coach at Villanova.
And when you talk to Bridget Orchard, you can hear her excitement to be back at her alma mater, to take over for the coach that she played for and to try to lead this program even beyond where it has been in the past. A lot of enthusiasm from Bridget Orchard as she gets to know her players this year and launches her era.
Auburn going with the southpaw in Lexi Hanley, the redshirt sophomore out of Akron. Brad, this is her second collegiate start at Auburn, one of the keys for her today.
Yeah, 5 days ago she started against Furman and went 4 innings, 3 hits, 1 unearned run. She pitched with confidence, and that was the big key. When she's confident and in control, she can be a big weapon for Mickey Dean's pitching staff.
Well, and she's facing a Villanova offense today that put up 13 runs against Eastern Illinois earlier this morning. And, Brad, when you look at this order, you have to highlight the leadoff hitter in Angela Giampaolo. She's the table setter. She gets this lineup going.
2 of her 6 hits on the season have gone for extra bases. She is the team leader in stolen bases, just what you want a leadoff hitter to do. Get on and then put pressure on the defense.
A great atmosphere set today for the Tiger Invitational. Auburn and Villanova, the first meeting ever between the two schools on the softball diamond. And talking to the coaches this week, they were worried about a little rain. And of course, in Villanova's coach talked to Coach Orchard. It was snowing when I talked to her this week. She was snowed in. So everyone happy today with the weather. Brad, and this is just a great day to be outside, be on a softball diamond.
It's a lot different from what we thought it was going to be even 48 hours ago. We thought there might be some question or there might be some rain falling during the games today. Instead, you couldn't ask for more beautiful weather. This is stuff we see in April or May. Coach Orchard, earlier when we visited with her today, too many walks in the first game for her pitchers. She attributed some of that to just pitching outside in nice weather, something that is the best that they've experienced in a couple of weekends.
We're ready to play ball at Jane B. Moore Field. And Lexi Hanley delivers the first pitch for a strike. And, Brad, an interesting point. It's something that teams in the South very much so takes for granted every year, being able to practice outside, play games outside. For teams up north, oftentimes they are in indoor practice facilities putting in their work.
And already we see in this game, Britt, Lexi Hanley coming out and throwing strikes. She started Giampaolo 0-2, something she didn't do in her start against Furman on Sunday. She actually missed with her first 5 pitches. Nerves were getting the best of her. She started with strikes today.
Hanley, a medical redshirt last year, and staying out in front of Giampaolo 0-2. And you can expect a lot of different pitches from Hanley. She has a fastball, has a drive, also a curve and a change. And I say her curveball is her best pitch. She's going to live in the upper 60s, and she can even touch 70, 72 on occasion.
And now you see the leadoff hitter, Giampaolo. You can see already a seasoned player, just her second year with the program, but a lot of trust in her in the leadoff spot. She's gone up there battling today after an impressive game against Eastern Illinois earlier.
Giampaolo, she was a first-team All-Big East selection. Routine ground ball to third. Snow to Perry, one down. And bouncing around the Auburn infield. Have to take a look at Casey Mccracken at second base. Coach Mickey Dean has been so complimentary, not just of her offense, but her defense and leadership leading that middle infield.
Strong personality, strong leader, and you've really seen her development and her emergence more vocally the last couple of years as she's gone from underclassman to an elder.
Hanley gets the swing and miss over Villanova's best hitter in Paige Roush. Roush, of course, the transfer from Fordham, hitting .278.
.73 miles an hour. You see the velocity, and didn't quite hit the spot. Didn't miss by much, though, and a lot of speed. And I think Lexi thought maybe she could have gotten that call.
Yeah, definitely based off the reaction, one she wanted. Goes upstairs, is tipped back, and Roush falls behind 1-2. Well, that's the key as a pitcher, too. You have to go back to work after not getting a call on the corner. That's one of the growing parts of being a younger pitcher. Left field side, on the run, Greenwood into the fence. It'll fall to the turf in a tough play for the Auburn left fielder.
You see the effort here from Carmen Greenwood, who's trying to really cement herself as the starting left fielder, the majority left fielder. Just couldn't quite get to that one in time.
And taking a look at the Auburn outfield today, lots of speed in the outfield for Auburn, can cover all the gaps. And Lexi Hanley records her first strikeout of the day. Sits down Paige Roush looking, and it's 2 off, 2 down for Hanley.
Hanley on the 1-2 pitch, caught the outside corner. She had gone there a couple of pitches before and didn't get it. That time she hit the spot perfectly and got her first strikeout.
Caroline Jones, the next batter for Villanova. For Jones, one of the better hitters for the Wildcats this season. Hitting .355 runs batted in. That was coming in. She had 3 RBIs today against Eastern Illinois.
For Villanova, this is a weekend to play at an SEC venue, play in front of a big crowd, and an opportunity for Coach Orchard to learn a little more about her team. It's her first season. She's learning how to coach, how to motivate the players on her team.
Hanley gets the swing and the miss, and that's what's important, I think, this time of year, especially for a new coach and facing some new or having some new players on your roster you're trying to learn. This is one of the best parts of the year. Play good teams, and you can learn about each other from wins and losses and do it in a postseason type atmosphere like Jane B. Moorfield in Auburn.
Little things like, how does a player respond when you coach them hard? Is a player going to respond to positive feedback, or do they respond more when you challenge them and you get on them a little bit? Every player is different, so some of the learning in year one.
Caroline Jones draws a 2-out walk, and Villanova has their first base runner of the ball game.
Now batting the first baseman, number 17, Julia DaCosta.
So a 2-out walk for Hanley. Brad, was Hanley? She's got to face Julia DaCosta, another RBI machine. She has 5 on the year. How do you settle in here after a 2-out walk?
All about understanding that there are 2 outs. And that all she's got to do is go after DaCosta here. I think Lexi Hanley has plenty of confidence, and it's an early opportunity to show that she won't be rattled by that. DaCosta, a good hitter, though. She can hit it to all parts of the ballpark, speed and power.
Tried to check her swing, but instead makes contact. Twice now this inning that Hanley has thrown contact on the up pitch and gotten strikes for foul balls.
Yeah, she mixes speeds and locations very well, and you have to be able to do that at this level to have any measure of success.
0-2, got her swinging. Lexi Hanley bounces back after a 2-out walk. Records her second strikeout of the ball game. Tigers to bat next after this. Villanova going with the 5'10 senior right-hander Cayley Smith in the circle against Auburn, and this is Smith's third start of the season. Brad, it's a big one. What are the keys for Smith in the circle today?
Get ground balls, and that's going to mean that the pitches are going to be at the knees, maybe a little bit lower. She cannot miss high. Doesn't get a lot of strikeouts. Her strikeout numbers on the year, just 1 in 5 2/3 innings thus far this season for the senior. So she's got to rely on the defense behind her to get outs when the balls are put in play.
Going to be facing a very potent Auburn lineup today, as Auburn, they're hitting .365 as a team, but when you look at this lineup, have a record watch today for at least one Auburn player, Alyssa Rivera. Brad, 99 career hits going for the century mark today.
Yep, Casey Mccracken closer, Kendall Veach closing in on 100 as well. This is a lineup that features players batting above 300 for the season. In fact, Auburn 12th nationally in batting average. So they're hitting for average and they're hitting home run.
First pitch to Taylon Snow, left up for ball one. And Taylon Snow, she stepped in nicely since her freshman season. Been a day one starter on the Plains at Auburn and had one of the highest batting averages on the team a year ago.
And she's another that's just gotten on base. The first two in the lineup, Snow and Mccracken, with 16 hits each in the team's first 10 games, setting the table nicely for Snow, Rivera, and Veach behind them in the order.
Bouncing ball right side, glove side for Giampaolo, one away. And taking a look at the Wildcat infield, and Giampaolo, the second baseman, she is the leader in the middle infield. And for Villanova, she is going to be the player that is kind of calling the shots in the middle today for leadership.
And you see early the ground ball coaxed by Smith. That's the game plan, exactly what she wants to do today against these Auburn hitters.
But for Auburn, they have one threat after the other at the top, and this one is Casey Mccracken, boasting a .516 batting average with 10 RBIs, 5 home runs this season. And the senior, she was of course going to be tabbed as one of the leaders, but she's been leading by example through these first 2 weekends.
And she's become a more vocal leader on the team as well. When she speaks, teammates are starting to listen. They respect her work ethic.
For Mccracken in her last 2 seasons on the Plains, you just look at how she's improved from her freshman and sophomore seasons. A .352 average the last 2 with 13 homers, 39 RBIs. And in her freshman and sophomore seasons, Brad, she was a part of 2 very good teams that made it to the College World Series and the Super Regionals.
And toward the end of her sophomore season, that's when the bat came on. She had a game-winning home run or a game-tying home run against Mississippi State in the next to last or the last series of the year here at Jane B. Moore Field. And that was sort of the start, the spark to the bat, so to speak.
A wild pitch there from Smith gets away.
She had been a defensive a player more relied upon for defense in her sophomore season, played sparingly her freshman year, and in the junior season and so far this one, really disciplined at the plate. She worked hard on it a lot, too, from her sophomore to her junior season.
2-2 will miss away. 3 balls, 2 strikes. Mccracken, a patient hitter as well. She's walked 5 times. She's been hit once, and that on-base percentage second on the team right now at .595.
Good slugging numbers. Just a smart hitter.
Payoff pitch, smoked down the left field line. Takes a Wildcat turn.
Smith took a little something off. That one came up at 58 miles an hour. Mccracken was able to pull her hands in and just turn on it a little bit too early.
And Smith trying to find the strike zone here because not a lineup that you can afford to walk with the number of weapons that Auburn has behind her. Payoff will miss outside. And Mccracken is the first Tiger on the bases today.
7 walks issued by Villanova pitchers. 3 different pitchers used in the win over Eastern Illinois earlier today. And again, that's what Coach Orchard did not want to see. Free passes given up, especially to this potent a lineup that Auburn features.
Well, and for Smith, in 5 2/3 innings pitched this season coming in, she had only walked 1 with a 1.24 ERA, but again, hasn't seen much action. Tannen Snow taking a first pitch strike. Junior out of Chino Hills, California. And a Washington transfer from 2 years ago. Popped up left field. Leoline Jones drifts back for the catch. And is 2 down.
Snow got under it just a little bit. Wasn't able to get the full force of the bat behind it.
And Villanova in the outfield, much like Auburn, a lot of talents. And Megan Ruiz, the center fielder, considered to be the most talented in the outfield. And Ruiz, she is on the field for her defense, nothing else. As Villanova, that's the one player that they will hit for in the lineup today. Runner goes in, Mccracken, and she steals second base easily. The senior with her 3rd stolen base of the season.
Olivares had just a little bit of trouble getting the ball out of the mitt. And the little bobble certainly didn't help things. Throw a little bit off target as well. Mccracken likely in either way.
Evens the count up on Alyssa Rivera. Gave you a preview a few moments ago that Rivera 99 career hits at Auburn. One more puts her at the century mark.
And Smith trying to work away from Rivera. Rivera's the type of hitter, though, it's hard to define. It's hard to put her in one box. She can go to the opposite field if she's given something on the outside part of the plate. She's got enough power to pull the ball. We've seen a few times in her career, put down bunts or slap at it, use her speed.
Well, that's the thing about Rivera is her athleticism is she can drive it to the fence or she can lay one down on the ground and get the job done. One of the reasons she has been an impact on campus at Auburn the last 3 seasons, even as a freshman. And Smith loses Rivera inside. Brad, you mentioned the walks. Both Tigers on base have been walked this inning. For Cayley Smith, how do you get out of this inning and facing Auburn's best hitter this season now in Kendall Beach?
In the same way we discussed Lexi Hanley in the top half of the inning, just understand that there are 2 outs and that there's one player that she has to try and retire, and that's Kendall Beach, and that's no small feat to do that, but you can't worry about the runners that are on the base pads right now. With 2 outs, you just go after the one in the batter's box. And you can't miss up for her, that's for sure.
It'll miss away on the first pitch as Veach has homered 4 times this season. 2nd on the team behind Mccracken, but she leads Auburn 12 RBIs. She hit 3 home runs the opening weekend in Gulf Shores. There's a little blue pop up to second base. Giampaolo all over that one. And the Tigers strand 2 at the first. We are scoreless at James. Scoreless, top of the 2nd inning. Villanova coming to bat, facing the Auburn Tigers for the very first time in the series history. Each team had a base runner by way of walks in the first inning, but nothing came across the score. For Villanova, they are led by first-year head coach Bridget Orchard. A lot of ties to Villanova. She comes from Fordham, and you look at what happened with Fordham's program with Coach Orchard's leadership, Brad. 624 wins. The last 17 seasons before that, only 178, and just a testament to what kind of coach she is, and Villanova got a good one. 6
straight Atlantic 10 titles with Fordham to close out her career. 7 of the last 8 years that she was there, Fordham won the league championship. She coached 5 Atlantic 10 Players of the Year, 3 Pitchers of the Year, and 7 Rookies of the Year in that conference. So building a program, coaching players from their freshman year to maxing out their talent and winning conference championships. That is the Bridget Orchard file.
And for Coach Orchard, she's taking over from her former coach, Maria DiBernardi, who was there for a long time at Villanova. And not only that, Coach Orchard met her husband at Villanova. So a lot of ties going back to Nova in the Philadelphia area.
Lots of energy, too. 17 years is a long time to be at one school. And as you talked to Coach Orchard earlier this week, she said if we were going to make a move, this was the time, and this was the place.
Chopper to short. Snow to Perry, 1 down. Well, and that's one thing that's so important when you see coaches move in the offseason, because a lot, coaches, they get offers that a lot of people don't hear about at times. And one thing that people don't understand is the timing is so important, and it's not just the school. There's a lot more that goes into it, and for Villanova and Coach Orchard, it was just the perfect match. And now the task at hand to try to get this Wildcat program on the same level she had Fordham, and that's making NCAA tournament appearances and hopefully able to conquer the Big East at some point.
That's why weekends like this one are so important. Weekends like last weekend where the team went to Orlando, defeated Iowa, played Missouri, another SEC school.
Hanley missing on the first 2 to Oliveras.
And then next weekend they go to Madeira Beach down in Florida.
Yeah.
So the travel early, playing in nice weather. They're going to play Penn State down in Clearwater a little bit later on in the year.
Oh, the slow roller to short. Glove side for Snow. Routine play is 2 down.
Lexi Hanley coaxing ground balls and getting strikeouts. In fact, every out thus far has either been a ground out or strikeout. She's keeping the ball at the knees and trusting the defense behind her to make the plays.
In Auburn, a school in recent years, they have prided themselves on defense, even last year under Coach Dean. As the first one gets away from catcher Kendall Veach, it's a 1-0 count on LeQuay.
LeQuay hitting right at 400 on the year. She's done a little bit of everything as well. 3 extra base hits, including a home run.
And LeQuay, she's in a unique spot in the lineup. She's had to battle for that starting spot at third base. And talking with Coach Orchard this week, she kind of set herself apart with how she played last week on the left side of the infield, because again, so early in the season, a lot of positions still up for grabs, and another reason this weekend so important. As Hanley took a bit off there, 55 miles per hour. Getting a piece of it, though, was LeQuay for a 1-2 count.
LeQuay was way out in front of that. Credit to her for making contact. That's a good-looking change of pace, though, from Hanley.
Well, Hanley, she is so good at that. She can mix her speeds from 70s to the 50s. Slow roller, Mccracken backs up Hanley, and it's a 1-2-3 inning. 3 batters, 3 ground ball outs. Headed to the bottom of the second. Carmen Greenwood. Offense hasn't been an issue for the Auburn Tigers through 10 games this season. Comparing to last year, the home run numbers have skyrocketed. And Brad Law, one of the reasons for that is the weighted ball program that Coach Mickey Dean has implemented at Auburn. He did it at James Madison, and now the Tigers getting their first taste of it in his second season.
Yeah, the program implements wooden bats for the players that are weighted at the handles, and it forces you to draw or be better at drawing your hands in. And then the balls have different weights as well. They can lighten them or they can make them heavier. But the focus is when you make contact with a heavier ball, it makes you work harder to drive the ball. The hands are in, and you focus on your follow-through, making sure that you swing all the way around, which is going to drive the ball and maybe even pull the ball a little bit more. And that's what he's implemented. The players have taken to it. They've worked very hard in the weight room over the offseason as well, and that is what both Mickey Dean and Coach Eddie Kettlehut, who works with the hitting aspect of the game, they attribute those home run numbers.
Carmen Greenwood to lead off the inning for Auburn. Greenwood making her 6th start of the season. And we have a pause on the field as Coach Orchard comes out of the dugout to chat with the home plate umpire, but it's a quick one. As Smith finds the strike zone with off speed, good pitch.
And we'll keep our eye on Cayley Smith and how deep into this game she goes. Just 5 2/3 innings in 2 previous starts, and she's never been a pitcher that's gobbled up a lot of innings throughout her career.
And for Smith also, I think it's one of those things that with the way she pitches, I think it could be one of those things, hey, let's get through the lineup once, maybe change some looks, because Villanova, they used 3 pitchers earlier today in a 13-4 win against Eastern Illinois.
It was a good-looking pitch from Smith on 2-1, diving down and in on Greenwood.
2-2's popped up foul. And to Smith's credit, she has not surrendered a hit for the first 5 batters of Auburn's lineup today, and another strike and make it 6 in a row.
Yeah, it's an Auburn team that had double-digit hits in both of its Sunday wins last week to close things out in the Plainsman Invitational.
Bouncing ball, glove side is bobbled by DaCosta and gathers it up to step on the bag. One more bobble out, and that could have been an error down the line. And she shares a laugh with the first base dugout.
You have dreams like this sometimes, right? Where a player's barreling down, you've got to make the play. It should be a routine play, but you bobble. She was able to get it in time. Was DaCosta to get the out.
Well, for DaCosta, too, that ball it took a tricky hop and had some pretty good velocity traveling down the line.
Well, and again, that's one that Carmen Greenwood a year ago may have not been able to pull down the line as she was there.
Next batter up, Justice Perry for Auburn, the junior first baseman. Brad, you and I were talking about this off the air before the broadcast today. Perry dropping down a few spots in the order, and for Perry, very good numbers, good power numbers, a gap hitter. And for Auburn, at times, I think can add more depth to this lineup.
Yeah, I think so. Perry can be a double-digit home run hitter if she's in the lineup every day. And move down today into the number 7 hole was an interesting move. When you're playing behind Mccracken and Snow and Rivera and Veach, sometimes you come up with the bases clear. But dropping her a spot, putting her behind Carmen Greenwood in the order, gives Greenwood a chance to get on base and give Perry a chance to hit with somebody on base. Didn't happen this turn through, but I think that's the thinking from Coach Dean.
Hitters count for Perry. And it'll miss outside. Another walk for Auburn. All 3 base runners that have reached today have been by way of the walk. Runner at first, 1 out. Auburn unable to move runners in the first inning, Brad Law, but this time they'll have Brittany Marissette, Morgan Padani with RBI opportunities.
Mickey Dean wants to be aggressive. You may think, all right, Justice Perry at first, a little taller, got longer legs, a longer stride. Would she try to steal? Maybe you wouldn't think of her as a base stealer a couple of years ago. She's 2 for 3, though, in that department this year.
Well, the way Auburn's running this season, I would not put it past her, because Auburn 18 for 21 as a team coming in, now 19 for 22 after Mccracken stolen base in the first inning. Brittany Marisette, the junior designated player, hasn't seen a ton of time in the starting lineup as she pops this one up behind second base. Bobbled by Giampaolo, but she corrals it for the second out of the inning.
That's a nice job of concentration by Giampaolo. She's got a little smile and a laugh as well, as that one nearly squirted out. Looking up into the sun. That's good concentration, able to look the ball back into the glove.
It's the ninth batter for Auburn in Morgan Podani.
Her average is above 300 now for the season, and that's an improvement from last year. Last year, she made her way at the plate by drawing walks.
I was going to go back to Giampaolo just for a second. Cayley Smith, she's pitching to contact using her defense. Giampaolo, she's been responsible for 3 of the outs today defensively for Villanova. And you talk about clean defense, you got to have it when playing a team like Auburn who can swing the bats.
Well, and when Smith has already issued 3 walks in the game, when you have an opportunity as a defensive player to make that play, you help your pitcher out a lot when you're able to execute.
And it's 4 straight balls to Morgan Podani. 4 walks on the day for Cayley Smith. And, right, you talked about Podani. She was second on the team in walks last year. She had 23 walks. So when you have a player at the bottom of the order who can get on base, not just by walk, but also with her speed, it kind of sets up the top, what Victoria Draper used to be able to do for Auburn at the bottom of the order. Now it's back to the top runners first and second for 1, 2, and 3, starting with Taylon Snow. And now the question for Auburn is, Brad, how does Auburn make an adjustment at the plate and with no hits the first time around through the order?
I think they want to make Smith throw strikes consistently, and I'll be interested to see even more so the second time through the order against Smith, how far Smith goes into the order the second time. She's not allowed to hit yet, but I think if you're Auburn, you have to be very patient at the plate. As a runner enters the game for Perry at second base, you have to be patient. You have to maybe make her throw a couple of strikes in a row before you think about offering. You can be much more selective with where the pitch is located before you decide to swing.
Rachel Cook on the pinch run for Justice Perry. Not surprised to see that move, as Cook, that has been her role for this season. Pinch runner, a walk-on out of Dadeville, Alabama, just right up the road from Auburn. And the first 2 outside the zone to Taylon Snow, so the sophomore shortstop with a hitter's count. And it doesn't have home run numbers, but she has the hitting numbers, .457 average.
It's a good use of location. Smith had gone away the first 2, and then came back inside and caught the corner to get the first strike. We'll see if that settles her down a little bit.
Hard bouncer to short, and Switzer able to do the dirty work for out number 3. So Auburn, they strand 2 more, and at the end of 2, we are scoreless on the play. Lexi Hanley has been lights out through 2 innings. In the first inning, strikeout looking and a strikeout swinging. And then Brad, in the second inning, it was all about using the defense. Got 3 ground ball outs.
No question, and we talk about mixing locations well. When she goes high, she's going for the strikeout. The hitters get so used to seeing that the pitch come in at the knees or lower, and their eyes get really big when it starts to sail up above the knees and about waist high. But so far in this game, they haven't been able to catch up to it. She's done a nice job working high-low.
Only 1 base runner allowed for Villanova, and that was by way of a walk. And for Hanley, I thought the first 2 innings was more important just for her self-confidence, because at times this season when she has pitched, nerves have been a factor for her. She settled in nicely through the first two, and now let's see how she can progress and try to evolve as a starting pitcher for Auburn today.
Well, it had been, 20 months since she last pitched before this season started. This is just a second start back since her MAC Freshman of the Year season 2 years ago.
And she'll face Cayley Smith, the starting pitcher of Villanova. Smith looking for her first base hits of the season. She's 0 for 2 thus far.
One of 5 California natives on this Villanova roster.
I noticed that, and a lot of good softball, of course, out west. And, of course, that's where Auburn has gotten a few recruits, and you're starting to see a lot of those kids from the West Coast kind of moving over to the East Coast, playing up north, playing in the SEC. You'll see them throughout the SEC this season.
There's so much softball, such a prevalent sport. There's so many talented players out in California. It's a big state, a lot of talent. They're going everywhere.
Well, what's great about the sport is what you and I are able to do right now is helping the sport grow, and just the TV coverage that's evolved, and it seems like every year the sport's getting more popular and popular, and of course this is one of the best times of the year because of it. 1-2 to Smith, and Case Mccracken takes care of the first out. It's one down.
71 miles an hour and a little bit up. Smith thought she might be able to do something with it. She just wasn't able to get a very powerful swing behind it.
Well, that's kind of been the case for every ball that's been put in play today by Villanova, making contact, but the timing just hasn't quite been there for the Cats. And it's the final batter of the order in Kendall Ruiz. Kendall Oman, forgive me.
Today's start, I think, is another opportunity for Lexi Hanley to show that she could be the number 2 starter for Auburn this year. Michaela Martin obviously is pretty entrenched as the ace on the staff, and Mickey Dean legitimately believes that any of the other 3, Hanley, Chardonnay Harris, or Ashley Swindle, could be regular starters. But I think Hanley, given her experience, given the number of starts and her success at Akron, and the versatility that she brings, I think it's a big next couple of weeks for her.
Swing and a miss, strike 3. That is strikeout number 3 on the day for Hanley. And
with 2 outs, so that is number 1.
Again, just a little bit up, about waist high. That's going to be the location when Hanley's going for the strikeout. And that's what she's going for there. And that's another Mickey Dean trait as well. His pitchers are trying to strike the others out. That's a bit of a change in philosophy from the previous regime.
Well, for Mickey Dean, when he came to campus at Auburn, he said, make no mistake about it the first day, we're not trying to let pitchers throw to contact. Yes, we'll use the defense when we have to, but we're trying to attack hitters, make them uncomfortable, and strike every batter out. And his pitchers, for the most part, have been able to do that. Yeah, Kaylee Carlson last season, Michaela Martin, that duo, and then now this season, you have potentially 4 starting pitchers in your rotation. And because that's one thing, since she's been on campus at Auburn, pitching has not been an issue for the Tigers. Hanley living up on the last 3. She's in the hole 3-0 to Giampaolo. For Hanley, she has only allowed 1 base runner. It was a walk in the first inning. And a 3-0 will miss outside. And it's a 2-out walk, but for Auburn, look at what's happened with the pitching staff under Coach Mickey Dean. The numbers, Brad, they speak for themselves. Auburn had one of the lowest ERAs in program history last year, team ERA of 1.37.
Yeah, no question. And that you had Kaylee Carlson and Michaela Martin, and Martin put together the best year of her career.
Bouncer to short. Takes a tricky hop high off the chest of Snow, and everybody will reach safely.
Yeah, just a funny hop for the sophomore shortstop. One of those in-between hops. Do you take it with a backhand glove or do you take it with the heel facing up? She tried to go heel facing up, and it's the first base hit for either side today.
Well, 2 outs for Auburn. If you get an out, it doesn't matter. For Villanova, a base hit potentially scores a run. You have some speed on second with Giampaolo.
And that Cayley Smith has done now twice in the game, and that is 2 runners on, 2 outs to kind of, to focus in, forget about the runners on base, just go after the one at the plate.
Goes high, draws the swing and miss from Caroline Jones. And Jones, before this inning, was the only batter to reach after walking in the first.
Second on the team in RBIs. She's got a good, powerful swing. Doesn't get cheated.
Villanova adding a little pressure here at the top of the third. 2-1 count, 2 runners on, 2 outs. And the 2-1. Hanley blows it by Jones with a 71-mile-per-hour pitch. And the Tigers need 1 more strike.
Wouldn't be surprised here to see Hanley come back with a changeup, something off speed after going above 70.
In the air, right field side, foul. And a do-over for Jones.
Shows how much I know. Same pitch, same spot.
Well, with Hanley, though, Brad, a good guess because she has the curve you can go to. She has the change. But she's going rising fast for the most part in this at-bat against Caroline Jones. The 2-2. Chasing for the rise was Lexi Hanley. And makes it a 3-2 count here.
She set up that pitch with the one previous, just couldn't get Jones to chase.
And Jones, one of the better hitters of this Wildcat lineup, batting third, an experienced player. And a wild pitch gets away. Doesn't matter though, it's ball 4, and that'll load them up for Villanova. Coach Mickey Dean will call time. Looks like we could be seeing a substitution of some sort. But for Auburn, Brad, everything this inning has been self-inflicted. 2 walks and an error, all with 2 outs. Because Auburn and Lexi Hanley, they retired the first 2 with a pop out to second and a strikeout. Looked like another 1-2-3 inning. And then all of a sudden, the 2-out walk kind of extends it, and Villanova has a runner 60 feet away to take the lead.
And they did go back and change the hit to an error on Taylon Snow out at short. And we will see a pitching change. Here is Ashley Swindle comes in for Auburn.
Number 4, Ashley Swindle.
We'll go to break. We'll have Ashley Swindle's numbers when we return. Stay tuned. Softball continues. Tigers go to the right-hander, Ashley Swindle from Jasper, Alabama, the junior, who will come in relief. Brad, she started the season primarily as a starter. Her last 2 outings, though, have come in relief. She went a third of an inning on Sunday against UAB, also went an inning against Furman. How do you like Swindle in the relief role this season?
Well, because of what she does, it's such a drastic change of pace. Now you're talking about a right-handed pitcher. The changeup is her main weapon, and it is a change of about 45 miles an hour when she throws it.
A first pitch strike to Julia DaCosta, the first baseman of Villanova. And for Swindle, she's got 3 different speeds that she can throw you. She can hit you in the 40s, the 50s, and the upper 60s. And there it is. Change up, freezes DaCosta, and Swindle's ahead 0-2.
When you get used to Lexi Hanley at 70 miles an hour, and then Swindle goes change up at 47. Beautiful spin and rotation, and not much the hitter can do.
Speeds her up, called strike 3. Went high and away. And Ashley Swindle leaves the bases loaded for Villanova. Headed to the home half of the third, scoreless on the Plains. Welcome back to Jamie Moore Field. It is Auburn and Villanova, joined now by Villanova head coach Bridget Orchard. And Coach Orchard, it has been a great first 3 innings for your team thus far. And for the most part, your pitcher, Cayley Smith, has kept Auburn off balance. What has she got to do to continue that success in the circle today?
Yeah, she's got to keep hitting her spot. She's confident out there. She's throwing. She's got nothing to lose. She's a senior. She'll be given a big opportunity right now, and she's making the most of it.
Offensively, you've been able to get on base, put a little pressure on Auburn, just as you did in the last half inning. Just talk about the game plan as this game plays out.
Yeah, we're just trying to relax up there, get comfortable. We're facing some really good pitching here, and just trying to make the most of our at-bats, get some good bat on good ball.
Coach, appreciate the time. Best of luck in this one.
Great, thanks a lot.
Villanova head coach Bridget Orchard, and really like the patience her team has shown in this game today. Of course, they wanted to get one off the bases loaded, but they're giving Auburn everything they want right now through 2.5 innings of play. But for Auburn, they have the same thing this inning. How do you adjust the second time around? And you have the top of the order due up. Mccracken, Snow, Rivera. And Mccracken comes out aggressive and ready.
Smith at 41 pitches now for the game, the senior, the second time through against the Auburn hitters. And one of the reasons Coach Orchard gave her the start against Auburn today was she was a senior. She didn't think that the moment was going to be too big for her. And she's been right to this point.
And what I've been impressed with is even out of the walk, she has not panicked today with the 4 walks to this Auburn team who has weapons. She continues to go right back to work, and she's stuck to the plan.
Well, she hasn't let mistakes compound and become bigger. In each of the first 2 innings, she had 2 base runners on, but with 2 outs, and she was able to focus in and get the 3rd out without further damage.
Hitters count coming up for Mccracken. Mccracken walked and stole a base her first at bat today. But she's the type of player that can change the game with one swing of the bat. Tied for 8th in the country with 5 home runs. As Smith goes in on the hands, and Mccracken is walked for the 2nd time.
That's a disciplined at bat. A hitter's count. And they had worked Mccracken away and low. That time it came on the inside part of the plate. And this is tempting. It's really tempting when you've seen him away to pull the trigger there. Mccracken able to hold off of it, draw the walk.
So Auburn, a leadoff runner on first. See if the Tigers will put Mccracken in motion here. First pitch off speed. Took a little off for Tannen Snow as a first pitch strike.
Those home run numbers that we've referenced, this is like what makes Auburn dangerous. And for Cayley Smith, she can't make a mistake to the next 3 in the order.
Well, and for Tannen Snow, that one hits her. I think it caught her on the elbow.
Working inside.
Yep.
A glancing blow.
As that back elbow came around, caught her on the bottom of her right elbow, and enough to give Auburn runners at 1st and 2nd.
Don't think she'll need won't need to ice that one down after a glancing blow, and she's at 1st.
First time Snow has been hit this season. Rivera pops it up on the first pitch, and Delaney Switzer makes the catch for the 1st out. A much-needed out for Villanova.
The batter is the catcher.
That's an at-bat that Rivera is going to be a little frustrated with herself going after the first pitch and wasn't able to get a solid swing on an inside pitch.
How do you like Auburn's aggressiveness this inning? That's two batters that's come out swung at the first pitch, but they're batters that you want that confidence in it, and that more times than not, you instill that confidence in Mccracken and Rivera.
Yeah, I think it's part of their identity. It's part of the identity of the head coach, Mickey Dean, and that's going to filter down. That's what he wants. He wants his players to be aggressive in the plate and on the bases.
Smith coming inside on Veach, almost got a piece of her.
I would be tempted, though, and I've never coached a game, but I would be tempted to throttle back a little on that, as Smith has had trouble with her control, consistently throwing 2 strikes in a row. I would be mindful of that.
1-0. This is inside. It's a 2-0 count. Time called, and I believe third base umpire signaled, or the home plate umpire signaled down the third base line. Hitters count on Veach. Off speed, inside corner. And Smith, she is staying with the plan to attack the right-handed hitters on the inside part of the plate.
Yeah, and this is why now we're seeing the senior Veach very patient at the plate, and now she finds herself with a hitter's count.
Senior versus senior. Kendall Veach, the catcher for Auburn. Cayley Smith hasn't allowed a hit yet for Villanova through 2 1/3. 3-1, lost her down low. So 2 walks and a hit batter loads them up for Auburn. Tigers have had at least 2 base runners on every inning, Brad.
I was about to say Auburn's had 7 base runners now in the first 2 innings of this game, 2 1/3 innings of this game. This is by far, though, their best opportunity to cash in and get on the scoreboard.
Carmen Greenwood, aggressive on the first pitch, fouls it off 0-1. Villanova has the question now, how long do you stick with Cayley Smith? She's worked out of jams before.
And she's a ground ball pitcher, and with the infield in, if you can coax a ground ball.
Ground ball through the right side. That'll score Mccracken. And Auburn gets 2 runs across. Tannen Snow comes home to score. And Auburn has a 2-0 lead. Carmen Greenwood's first RBIs of the season. And for Brett, I don't know if you saw it, Tannen Snow, she had the break sign on from Coach Mickey Dean, but the aggressiveness paid off.
Well, Greenwood does a great job, aggressive at the plate, inside third. Got her hands in, level swing, and threw into right field. Smiles on the face of Mccracken and Snow. Mccracken scored easily, and Mickey Dean had. He had thrown up the stop sign to Tannen Snow. I don't know if she saw it or if she just ran on through it, but after she scored, Auburn's head coach looked up at her, put the hand up, said, "Yeah, you're good. That's what I meant for you to do in the first place."
Well, and even Coach Dean now, he's saying, "Hey, that one paid off."
Yeah, that's good coaching right there.
But in all seriousness, I do think at some point that'll be a topic of conversation at some point, just because you get in those 1-run games, those tie games later in the season. Plays like that, it can work for you or it can cost you, and that's where you have to be careful. So a pitching change for Villanova, and it will be Sarah Kennedy. And for Kennedy, She has 2 appearances this season, 1 start, 0-1 on the year with a 6.46 ERA. And she's got a curveball, a changeup, a screw that complements the curveball well. So it's a very much like Cayley Smith. Brad, I think we'll see a lot of movement, a lot of junk pitches here for Villanova.
She came on and got the last out for Villanova earlier today in the win over Eastern Illinois. After EIU had scored 3 runs in the top of the 5th inning, she came on to get the last out. Gave up a hit, faced just 2 batters, gave up 1 hit, but got the ever-important 3rd out to close out their victory earlier today. So 2nd appearance on the day for the freshman, Sarah Kennedy.
Well, and Kennedy, a freshman, like many freshmen, trying to learn how to pitch at the collegiate level. And like most players, Brad, you just need innings. You just need experience. And kind of goes back to what the head coach and Coach Orchard is trying to accomplish with her team this weekend. Getting experience, getting innings in a very good softball environment.
Yep, Coach Orchard is going to learn from Kennedy here what she's like pitching as a freshman in a high-pressure situation. 2 runs already in, 2 on base, and a very powerful hitter at the plate.
And pop it up in the mid-60s, and good velocity coming from the right hand of Kennedy. Loses Perry outside. 3 balls, no strikes. Perry hasn't seen a strike yet today. She has seen 7 consecutive balls at the plate. .30 right down the middle, and Perry, she had the take sign on.
Sure.
And why not?
Well, you have to make the freshman throw a strike first, and one of the biggest areas of improvement in Perry's game has been her eye discipline at the plate, the ability to take pitches. That was easy take.
Little chopper back to the pitcher. Kennedy goes to 3rd. LaQuay looks to 1st, doesn't make the throw as Perry was already across first base. Smart move by the pitcher. Kennedy help herself out, get the lead runner at 3rd, and it's 2 down.
Now batting number 8, set.
3-1 pitch. And Kennedy fields her position really nicely. Knew where to go immediately. Textbook play from the freshman.
And with 2 outs, it'll bring up Brittany Marissette. Marissette 0 for 1 with a pop-up to second base.
Now 3 for 10 on the season. One of a handful of players that Mickey Dean is platooning as a designated player early in the season. Bree Fornes has done it a couple of games. Even Michaela Martin did it early in the year.
Well, and Marissette, she's one of those players that Coach Dean believes in this position because, one, she's very talented. She's athletic. And she's never been in the starting role, though, in her Auburn career thus far. She has been a spot player, a sub player that can have impact on games. And now the big question for her this season, what she's trying to accomplish, is be that everyday starter. And that's what the Snellville, Georgia native is working on in her junior season. Ground ball, it'll get up the middle. Rounding 3rd is Greenwood. Perry heads for 3rd. She'll go home. It gets all the way to the wall. And Brittany Marissette drives in 2 for the Auburn Tigers. And Auburn doubles the lead.
It'll be interesting to see how this one is scored as Megan Ruiz out in center field had to dive to try and stop the progress of this ball. She couldn't do it. It got out there quickly. She was playing toward left center field. That's going to go as a triple for Marissette all the way to the wall. And Marissette, with that athleticism, able to breeze on into 3rd base.
First extra base hit of the year for Marissette, as Morgan Padani takes a first pitch strike. Well, and what was interesting on the play for Ruiz, what helped Marissette was just the angle. Yep. She was charging up at it, and with a velocity behind the ball, Marissette had the advantage all the way to 3rd, and Marissette's a good runner.
Well, they played her defensively as you would play a slapper, which is the left field at regulation depth, maybe a little more shallow, but the center fielder shades around toward left center considerably, leaving a lot of room in center and in right center. And because of the alignment, that's what made it really difficult for Ruiz to go over and stop the progress of that ball.
Another RBI opportunity for Auburn. Mara set on third. Padani at the plate, 2 outs. Padani, one of the 5 seniors on this team for Auburn, and she is one of the players that Auburn feels they have one of the strongest senior classes leadership-wise that they have had on the Plains in a while. Sits back on the change. An overhanded catch by Sarah Kennedy, and the inning comes to a close. But for the Tigers, they strike first. Carmen Greenwood, a 2 RBI single, and Auburn leads it 4-0 at the end of 3. Third inning could have been dangerous for the Auburn Tigers with 2 outs, a walk from Lexi Hanley, an error at shortstop, and then another walk loads the bases. But here comes Ashley Swindle with 2 outs, and with 2 strikes, called strike 3. Villanova leaves the bases loaded, and the Tigers give the junior pitcher a 4 spot on the scoreboard in the home half of the third. We stand at 4-0 Auburn, headed to the top of the 4th. Brad, that'll give any pitcher some confidence, a 4-run spot heading back out to work.
Well, it does, and now Swindle, 3 appearances in a row in relief for the junior right-hander, and now she goes out, not in a tight spot, not a change of pace, a little more time for the Villanova hitters to adjust to her.
It's a bouncing ball, third base line, a strong throw from Tannen Snow, and it's 1 down. And Tannen Snow, Brad, you see the confidence increase each game for Snow because she couldn't play in the field all of last season, and she only DP'd. Well, she is getting better and better by the game.
Last year, Auburn's catcher was Courtney Shea, who had most of her career been solely or mostly a designated player. She said that her focus each game changed drastically, and she was better both offensively and defensively because she was playing every day. Tannen Snow, maybe we see something similar from her this year if she is playing every day over at third base.
And Ashley Swindle grooving a strike on Jordan Olivares for a 1-1 count. And for the most part, Auburn's defense has really helped out the pitching. I mean, aside from the 1 error that was not the most routine of plays, Auburn, the defense is the reason this game is scoreless right now for Villanova.
Yeah, Nova has stranded 4 base runners through the first 3 innings and change so far. They've put pressure on Auburn. The Tigers have been able to get out of it for the most part.
High pop-up, shallow left center field. Morgan Padani, with the help of sunglasses and a visor, she makes the catch.
Padani's ability to transfer from left field to center, transition from left to center fairly fluidly, has been big for this Auburn team through the first 2 weeks and change of the season. She played predominantly in left field the first part of her Auburn career, and she's filled the void left by Victoria Draper.
Well, and you said it. Draper, what she did for this Auburn program, not just at the plate but in center field, not an easy player to replace. And if someone was going to be capable of doing that in the outfield, it was Morgan Padani because she has good wheels. Not only that, her arm is highly underestimated by base runners, and even then, her glove. I mean, you saw the catch that she made last year against Alabama in a pressure situation right here at Jane B. Moore Field.
Also have to have a high softball IQ to play out in center field, make decisions quickly, and she can do that.
The 0-2 from Ashley Swindle to Olivia LaQuay is downstairs. Swindle looking for 1 more strike. Again with a 1 strikeout to end the third. Bouncing ball, diving stop, Perry. She'll race to the bag, but LaQuay gets there first. First base hit of the game for Villanova.
Little miscommunication there for Auburn defensively, either Swindle or Mccracken, somebody.
Now batting number 3, Sarah
should have been moving toward the bag when Perry had to dive to her right. Still a terrific play to smother that ball and make the stop. But everybody was sort of frozen defensively at the beginning of that play.
Well, I think if Auburn could go back, they would have Mccracken make the play glove side with Perry covering the bag at first. Because that's the thing about Mccracken is she has the range to get there. But, Brad, like you said, everybody kind of frozen. And, of course, Perry, too, she knows she has the range. Just didn't have anybody to back up first.
There's that changeup at 48 miles an hour, and you could see Smith out in front. She lifted and then planted the front foot very early, and Kennedy not able to get the full force of her swing behind it.
O2 goes for the strikeout up and in on the hands. And when I say strikeout, not looking, trying to get the batter to chase. Back to work is Swindle.
I don't think that Swindle has seen the last of her opportunity to start regularly for this team, but it has been impressive to see she's been calm, she's been poised, coming out of the bullpen, coming out in relief the last couple of games.
2-2, good composure by pitcher Sarah Kennedy. Her first at bat of the season in the hole 0-2, works the count back full. And again, some very good pitches from Ashley Swindle. Payoff, Swindle lost her. And after a 2-out base hit, it's runners at first and second with a 2-out walk. So now another opportunity for Villanova. They have had a runner on base every inning except for the second. They had the bases juiced in the third, and now it's first and second, 2 outs in the fourth. Oman will show bunt.
Well, a 4-run cushion makes this a little less tense, but you've still got to execute with 2 outs. And Auburn's defense against Oman, who has good speed, and she's going to try to slap at it, put it in play. The infield is drawn in, and that means you're going to have to make a throw that you have to make a small percentage of the time.
0-1, jammed her, but it goes to foul, takes a Villanova bounce. Well, and if you're Auburn, too, and Ashley Swindle, you want to go right at Oman here because you don't want to sit Giampaolo up and then Roush up. Your best 2 hitters up next for Villanova with the bases loaded. Change up, called strike number 3. Second strikeout looking for Ashley Swindle. And the Tigers escape the fourth unscathed. Coming up, a conversation with head coach Mickey Dean. It is 4-0 Auburn. Back after this on the Plains. A gorgeous day at J.B. Moore Field for the first day of the Tiger Invitational. Tigers lead at 4-0 over Villanova. Joined now by Tigers head coach Mickey Dean. And Coach Dean, the second time around through the order for Auburn was pretty special. 4 runs come across. Coach, what adjustments were you able to make at the plate that second time?
She was going soft out on us and hard in, and she was just showing the hard in just to show it. Rarely was it a strike. And so we just had to look out and stay in our legs.
Coach, could you evaluate what you saw from Lexi Hanley? She didn't give up a hit in her start, and then also from Ashley Swindle so far in relief today.
Yeah, they both did a nice job. We got the bases loaded there, and Lexi throws so hard with so much movement, and I still think our catchers are getting used to her. And I just didn't want I didn't want them to score a cheap one there, so I brought Ashley in, and she did her job.
Coach, appreciate the visit. Best of luck in this one.
War Eagle, thank you.
Tigers head coach Mickey Dean, and have to like the way his team responded because, again, Brad, a slower start offensively to start this one today, and an easy one to say, hey, we should be up. Easy one to get frustrated at, but Auburn stayed the course, and now the question is, can they tack on a few more here in the fourth after breaking through on Sarah Kennedy last inning?
I think Alyssa Rivera thought it was Dance Party USA. She's never one that's been camera shy, right?
Ever.
Well, so speaking of the start, I think you heard in that interview with Mickey Dean just his coaching philosophy. The first time through, they were getting a gauge for what Cayley Smith was doing in the circle and how she was going to pitch, and then they made their adjustments. These Mickey Dean and the rest of the coaching staff, they do a really nice job of in-game adjustments, and you saw them on display the first and second time through the order.
Lifted in the air, deep left center field, going back, it'll drop at the wall. Snow will round second, heading to third. She's being waved home and will hold. And Taylon Snow leads off the inning with a triple, just inches away from her first collegiate home run.
The wind is carrying out toward left center field. It picked this up a little bit, but that swing, really good contact. You could see Snow kept her head down through the contact and took that as deep as she has hit a ball in her Auburn career.
And that sets Auburn up nicely here in the bottom of the fourth. Casey Mccracken to the plate. Runner at third, nobody out. And Mccracken staying aggressive with that approach. She swung on the first pitch of the last two at-bats. But again, she's a senior, 2 walks today, not a hit. Runner at third. I mean, this is her opportunity, and she's going to have the green light in this situation more times than not.
Auburn's been working more on practice of situational hitting. Getting a runner at third with less than 2 outs, and what do you want to do? What kind of pitch are you looking for? It's not so much about mechanics. It's not so much about a personal at-bat as it is what do you want to do in the situation.
Well, that goes back to the process, I think, that Auburn is trying to follow and trying to learn how to follow this season, because talking with Auburn's hitting coach, Eddie Kettlehut, the first weekend, Auburn, of course, they dropped 2 games that they didn't want to lose and had opportunities to win. One of the things they didn't do, Brad, was move runners, and they focused on that, especially last week in practice as Mccracken gets a piece of the change. And this Auburn, they're taking steps, game by game, learning the process, learning how to move runners and execute in these situations, and little by little it's paying off for them.
You don't have to do everything right now. You can be patient and take it pitch by pitch. What a good pitch. That was a great pitch by Kennedy, and Mccracken able to stay back and not offer, but after going changeup in, Kennedy sped her up. That's a credit to the freshman for making that pitch, a credit to Mccracken, the senior, for holding on.
Olivera, she even kept it there a few extra seconds. Bouncing ball to second. 1 run will score. Giampaolo will go to first for the out. And Casey Mccracken picks up her 11th RBI.
Well, and so situational hitting says, what do you do there? You want to try to hit the ball on the ground on the right side. If you can't get a pitch to drive, if you're going to hit it on the ground, go to the right side of the infield, and that's what Mccracken did, and it scored the run. And that's going to make the head coach awfully happy.
Ground ball to the right side. Keep it simple. And it got the job done. 5-0 Auburn clears the bases for Taylon Snow. Goes opposite field, deep down the right field line. Foul, and every time you see that powerful swing Snow has and contact is made, the first second you're wondering, hey, is it going to leave the yard? She's already bombed 4 times. And a great pitch to come back with as Kennedy locates the change for an 0-2 count.
Both of Snow's home runs against Furman Sunday were off of the video board in left center field. Both were very near the face of the clock at the very top of the scoreboard. That's a long way up.
Oh, and Snow's power. You know,
oh, look how high up that is.
Yeah. And a few of these Auburn players have hit it to the top of that scoreboard a few times in their career. Veach and Rivera, a few to add to that list. But for Snow, too, she displays her power also even on defense. I mean, the throw she made earlier in this game didn't take a step. She threw from where she planted originally on the third base line and threw a diamond across the infield. Sits back on the change. It'll go foul. Will they have room? Jones just a step behind as Snow will stay alive.
Well, what that allows Snow to do defensively, she doesn't have to collect herself and take the little hop step and gather and rear back. She's got enough force behind the throw that allows her to get rid of the ball quickly, and that helps with a fast runner on the base paths.
2-2, chased after the rise, and Sarah Kennedy has her first strikeout. It's 2 down.
I like the confidence. I like the guts of the freshman Kennedy, just going right after Snow, a power hitter. And like you said, Britt, she just blew it by her.
Well, listen, it's a day where you're down 5-0. Offense has been minimal for you. This is a time as a pitcher, you haven't seen a lot of action. Hey, use this to get better. Because no disrespect to the Big East, but what Big East team has the threats that Auburn has at the plate? Bouncer by Rivera gets through for a 2-out base hit.
Did a little dancing at the top part of the inning, and now she gets a chance to dance around at first base, and there it is, the 100th career hit for Alyssa Rivera.
Did it on the first pitch, and she joins the Century Club in the Auburn softball hits category.
And she's still dancing.
That's a right to, I think, after that accomplishment. Here's Kendall Veach. Popped up second base. Giampalo's there with the speed. And for Auburn, they get one more across. Taylon Snow extends it 5. Update from around the SEC. The Florida Gators, of course, remains undefeated. They shut out Jacksonville 12-0. And Texas A&M, they are going through a rebuilding year. They lost a game to Liberty and McNeese, 2-3 in the last 5 games. They lost a ton of senior leadership from last year's team. And, of course, this year no different. The SEC dominating the top 25, 5 teams in the top 10. You know what they say when it comes to Southeastern Conference play? It is a super regional week in and week out in the SEC. And I think one of the reasons, Brad, that Auburn is going out to Fullerton, California next week to take on a couple of Pac-12 teams, and not just any Pac-12 teams. The Tigers have a date with the Washington Huskies, the Oregon Ducks, and the UCLA Bruins, all great teams in their own right of the Pac-12.
And then Mickey Dean put the schedule together like that for a reason. He wanted to start the season away from home, playing some good teams down in Gulf Shores. But this trip out to the Judy Garman Classic coming up next weekend, very important for the Auburn head coach to get his team ready to see the level of competition they'd see consistently in league play.
1-2-3 due up for Villanova. It's a diving stop. Taylon Snow, the throw from her knees is late, and Angela Giampalo has her first base hit of the ball game. And that's an infield base hit. And the effort was there from Taylon Snow. It was all about where it was placed.
Yep, Giampalo, good speed, leadoff hitter. Snow shows you the athleticism to get there, though, and the effort with which she plays.
Paige Roush looking for another base hit here as she reached on an error in the third inning. Struck out looking in the first. And again, Roush, she has kind of been that do-it-all player this year for Villanova. She was the NFCA first team all-region last year at Fordham after she was the Rookie of the Year of the Atlantic 10. 2-0 finds the strike zone at the knees.
And Roush's numbers at the plate, not quite what they were at Fordham a year ago. But she's settling in, a little different level of pitching and making the adjustment. I think they expect her to hit north of 300.
Hard bouncer, there's one. Mccracken to first for two, and Perry has the stretch. A 6-4-3 double play.
Against a left-handed hitter who had a little momentum out of the box, that's tough. But Snow, Mccracken, Perry, they practice it until it is routine. You don't practice until you get it right. You practice until you cannot get it wrong. And coaches talk all the time about it's not making the spectacular play that keeps you on the field. It's dominating the routine plays. And Auburn just turned a textbook double play.
Well, and for Auburn, they went 6 games without turning a double play. It wasn't until last Saturday the Tigers started to turn some double plays in the doubleheader with Texas Tech. And for the Tigers, the double play ball for this Auburn defense is a staple, especially once you get into conference play, because every out counts. You have to take advantage of opportunities to help out the pitcher. 1-1 to Jones is fouled back, a 1-2 count. And Jones has reached every at-bat today, both times by way of a walk.
Really impressed by the job that Ashley Swindle has done in relief. She's given up just 1 hit. She's done a good job keeping hitters off balance.
Goes away on Jones, and more of an offensive swing there. Too close not to chase, but not a pitch you want to put into play. One-two, got her swinging with the rise. And Ashley Swindle continues to dominate in relief. Headed to the bottom of the 5th. Auburn on top, 5-0. Third inning was...
Again, it just gives them more confidence, and it makes the Auburn lineup more potent. There's not a spot where you go, all right, if we get to this part in the lineup, well, then we got a chance to relax a little bit.
Bree Fornes hitting for Carmen Greenwood. Attempt the bunt here to start off the 5th inning. Not uncommon for Fornes. Fornes, the senior out of the town where that other school is in the SEC in Auburn. Tuscaloosa out of Hillcrest High School. And for Fornes, she got a couple starts to start the year. Kind of been in and out of the lineup. And the key for her is the talent is there, no question defensively. Is how she develops her bats her senior season.
Well, and Mickey Dean likes to cross-train players and have versatile players on his roster. And Fornes is one of those that seemed like potentially the heir apparent in center field, and she's got the defensive skills, as you mentioned, to do that. If she can become a weapon offensively as well, she's going to see her play time go up. And I think we're going to see her as a designated player several times here early in the season, and she may start a couple of games in the outfield as well. She entered defensively in the top half of this inning.
Change up, sits back on it, and drops a single into left field. Great adjustment from the Auburn senior, and it's a leadoff base hit.
Yeah, that's the kind of at-bat. That's the kind of at-bat that will get her, or that'll keep her in the lineup as she sees, recognizes the change, and then kept her head down. So much is about vision and seeing the ball all the way in. We saw it on the Talon Snow triple last inning, and you saw it again there on the at-bat from Fornes.
And that'll set up Justice Perry of Auburn. In the dirt, and Fornes will take second standing up.
She was waiting on any reason at all to move from first base.
Well, and Fornes, she stole several bases last year.
It immediately puts more pressure now on the Villanova players defensively with that kind of speed in scoring position and nobody out.
Off the end of the bat, gets through in the center. Fornes heads home to score an RBI single for Justice Perry, and it is 6-0 Auburn. Perry's 8th run batted in.
Well, Britt, for all the talk about the home run ball and Auburn's power, this is the second time in a couple of weeks now. Auburn beat UAB 9-0 8 days ago with a very similar offensive approach, station to station, gap to gap. It hasn't been the home run ball every time out, and today Auburn has done it with doubles and triples and singles right up the middle.
And Brittany Marisette, she's been one of those players to contribute to that. 2 RBI triple her last at bat. And Brad, to add to that, I had a chance to watch Auburn the first weekend in Gulf Shores. Was able to call the game last weekend against UAB, and how they adjusted from week to week and then carried that adjustment over to today. It's a big step for Auburn because, make no mistake about it, bouncing ball right side, Marisette beats Giampaolo to the bag, and an infield base hit.
Speed of Marisette, the difference there, and then DaCosta, after not making the play, wasn't able to regain her composure and get back to the bag. Marisette, left-handed hitter, had a little bit of a jump start out of the box as soon as she made contact, as all left-hand hitters do. And DaCosta continued, you see there, to move away from the bag after the deflection, and kept her from being able to cover the bag, and Giampaolo just didn't have the speed to beat Marisette there.
Marisette having herself a day. She's 2 for 3 with a single and a triple. And a pinch hitter coming up for Auburn. It'll be Aspen Godwin of Daphne High School. Marisette goes to second, throw gets away, and Perry will head home. Marisette takes third, and a throwing error gives Auburn a 7-0 lead. And for the Tigers, one more run. That's to start thinking about the 8-run rule. It's 8 runs after 5 innings. The Tigers need one more with a runner on third and nobody out.
I was a little surprised to see Olivares throw that ball down to second. It's obvious what you try to do there. You try to cut off the throw and keep Perry at third base. But Auburn scored a couple of times Sunday against Furman, on that very play, 2 separate occasions. And that time with Olivares making the throw and Giampaolo not able to rein it in. Well, now Marisette over at third, and Perry scored anyway on the play. So a little meeting now inside the circle as they all get on the same play defensively. The players are aware that one more run ends the game, and there's nobody out in the inning. This is a big challenge, to be sure. They just want to make sure that they're all squared away before the challenge continues.
One thing for Auburn, though, Brad, is how they are improving, though, putting pressure on the defense running. They did that last year, but now they're adding the bats and the hits to it. Auburn is trying to take a step up from last year. They're on their way to doing that in the offensive game because, make no mistake about it, that's where Auburn struggled last year. It was in those one-run games, specifically in conference play.
A sub 1.4 ERA last year as a team. Mickey Dean talked about specifically in conference play. If they could get to 4 to 5 runs a game in league play, he feels a lot better about their ability to rack up more wins.
Tigers a run away from knocking off Villanova in the opening game of the Tiger Invitational. Come up to the freshman Aspen Godwin of Silver Hill, Alabama. 3-time All-State catcher and the Class 6A Hitter of the Year in 2016 at Daphne High School. And she's one of the few players that Auburn recruited this year that had some very good offensive upside.
Yeah, 5'8", and not the kind of a frame that you typically think of when you think power hitter, but she really handled the bat well for Daphne.
3-1, and the freshman draws the walk. So that'll put runners at the corner, nobody out. And now, Brad, you have to ask the question, do you load the bases? Do you take your chances with Taylon Snow? Or do you walk her?
Yeah.
And then you're risking it with Mccracken, Snow, Rivera.
You pick your poison here. I think you're just trying to cut down the run from third, and that's it, even if you sacrifice having runners at first and second.
Bouncing ball to third. LaQuay checks the runner back to third, throws to first, and they get one. That's exactly what you need there. And now you got to get 2 more.
Yep. It opens up the possibility of perhaps walking Casey Mccracken here, and I would consider that if I'm Bridget Orchard.
Well, because you got to look at what the other hitters have done today. Mccracken doesn't have a base hit. Snow hit by a pitch and 0 for 2, and Rivera is 1 for 2 with a walk.
They're not going to do that. They're going to go right after Mccracken. And again, it's all about learning about your ball club and playing percentages.
1-2, and very could be, how do you respond to the situation defensively? Could be a lot of things here. Because you have to remember, with Villanova, they are 4-2, a team that did not play opening weekend due to weather. They didn't have any games on the schedule. This is only their second weekend of play, and a team that doesn't get to go outside to practice. That probably won't happen for another month.
This also may, now that Kennedy's fallen behind a bit in the count, the old intentional, where you just make sure you give her nothing good to hit.
2-1, ground ball back up the middle. That'll win it for Auburn. Casey Mccracken, a walk-off RBI single, and Auburn defeats Villanova 8-0. And Mccracken's 11th RBI of the season.
Consistent pitching for Auburn, Britt. Innings 1 through 5. Got into a couple of minor jams and then out of them. And then the hitting. The first time through, they gauged what Cayley Smith was doing. The second time through, big innings for Auburn with 4 in the third, another in the fourth, 3 more in the fifth. The second and third time through the order, the Auburn bats were able to capitalize on the data they gathered the first time through.
For Brad Law, I'm Britt Bowen saying so long from J.B. Moore Field, where the final score is Auburn 8, Villanova 0. To watch this entire game on replay as well as other games on our family of ESPN networks, log on to watchespn.com or download the Watch ESPN app. This has been a presentation of the SEC ESPN Network.